Shalom. This is Mary Omni from the World Government House of King David, Holy Covenant Constitutional Enforcer. I'm the woman of Galatians 4:4 and the woman of Revelations 12. Please refer to your Bible. And all I ask you to do is consider that I am who I say I am. I'm the mother of the New Jerusalem, and I'm the mother that gave birth to newborn King Emmanuel, February the 15th, 2011. This is a Republic notice. The UN have responsibility to address American anal rape in correctional institutions. The UN has a responsibility to address anal rape in American correctional institutions. As long as the UN is sitting on American soil in New York, it is not above the Constitution. As a matter of fact, it contracts with the U.S. corporation, which only has acts. It does not contract with the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution has the U.S. corporation as its subsidiary, and therefore the UN contracts with the U.S. corporation subsidiary. President Roosevelt founded the UN, and he founded the UN as one of our Ephraim brethren, because he knew that foreigners would want to try to invade. Therefore, he made sure there was a net and a body to hold the body of invaders. That's why the UN is the Babylon mother whore. And she contracts with the U.S. corporate mule to trap all Babylon children and to keep them away from the holy covenant called the Constitution. Nevertheless, she has to serve Judah. She has to serve Judah because she's on our soil. And all her body of all the nations is on our soil. And they do consent to inalienable rights infringement, which means the caveat emptor of slavery made them all consenters to inalienable rights infringement. And therefore, they have no contractability because inalienable rights infringement is outside of the constitutionality, which means they all have, they are what you call low grade, dung, or abominated contractors. Nevertheless, they will perish or they will serve Judah. They have been sitting there for a long time, pretending child human rights, pretending this human rights here, setting up all these NGOs with constitutional wealth, non-consented constitutional wealth, because the U.S. corporation can't consent anything because it's non-consented constitutional jurisdicted property. In other words, the Constitution governs the U.S. corporate mule. The U.S. corporate mule only have acts, no amendment. Therefore, it has no bodies of law. An act is not a body of law. An act can be preemptively nullified by the Constitution. And therefore, all these elite and all them, one day all their governors to be so powerful, well, you're contracting with the UN who contracts with our mule, okay? And then the mule shits them out as dung. Nevertheless, all nations will serve Judah, including 70. And our 15th Amendment, founded in 1870, is the New Jerusalem Law and the Constitution. And what that says is that you cannot get beyond the New Jerusalem Wall with all your nonsense. Therefore, you right into the abyss next to it. And it's a big abyss to catch all those who want to serve Satan. And how do we know that the UN is serving Satan? Because all their so-called humanity, and they sitting right on American soil, they failed to address the practice of anal rape and incarceration of constitutional citizens in America and constitutional youth, which is the sovereignty of America in the Constitution, which is Black American men, the 15th Amendment. They sit here and they sit on this soil watching anal rape be practiced while talking a human rights agenda around the world, and right under their nose, they accept and consent and almost glorify anal rape within New York City itself, in the prisons where constitutional citizens are incarcerated. Now, their agenda in acting like they the police of the world in human rights better understand one thing. First of all, constitutional citizens is not a part of that body because it owns the UN. And as it owns the UN because it provides most of the federal funding from constitutional citizens, the U.S. corporation have no funding. The Constitution is the land, the funding, the wealth, the 14, all the U.S. corporation is a mother corporation of all corporations who contract with her with taxes and formed in the United States. Therefore, the UN was founded on the same basis as servitude to the U.S. corporate mule. And therefore, she better get her Babylon whore children in these states to address the issue of all these incorporate doctrine contractors running around with guns without no real constitutionality, putting constitutional citizens in jail and setting them up for anal rape with the intentions and intent to nullify their constitutionality and their voting rights, which is automated by supreme contract with nobody can touch. Even in prison, they the most powerful voters on the planet. And they can vote the UN body top chiefs out of the body if they want to. So I'm telling the UN now, you better address your Babylon whore children that's from your European Union, your African Union, your Arab Union, your Asian unions, who sit up here and consent to the anal rape of constitutional citizens and violating inalienable rights infringement of the most young and vulnerable teenage black youth and males in this system. In this system where they are always looking for money from the U.S. corporation to contract with them for their so-called humanity NGOs. Why don't them NGOs never make it to the ghettos or the prisons of America? What they grabbing all the cash they can, embezzle and larceny, why don't they ever make it? Therefore, it's a constitutional preemptive lien on all UN property, subsidiaries, all offshoots, all 70 nations in the UN. The Constitution is the supreme contractor because y'all all consented to inalienable rights infringement. So don't holler someone is infringing on your nation because you consented to infringement on inalienable rights infringement and took foreign aid, even with the caveat emptor of 400 years of American proposed and legislated captivity of constitutional citizens who are God's namesake. And because they're God's namesake, you will not escape the fact that you consented to an alienable rights infringement, and therefore you consented your countries away with your handout for benefits for an alienable rights infringement. And still, you better address the anal rape of God's holy children that's incarcerated by these Babylon mother whore children. You better get your children under control immediately, as the Council of the UN will be addressed. We're not going to be playing games with you like President Obama and acting like we got to bargain with you. You don't hold no contracts. President Theodore Roosevelt put you in a trap with the mule. All UN bodies are trapped in mule dung contracts, okay? They all consent to debt and theft, and they all consent to inalienable rights infringement. Therefore, they gave their countries the right to have inalienable right infringements, and debt and theft be ruled by debt and theft governance. So they are consent to debt and theft to the constitutional citizens a holy covenant. This is why they cannot pretend any human rights with nobody in any courts with nobody. If they fail to address the holy covenant children that's being raped in America and anal raped and the human inalienable rights infringement of such an atrocity is right under their nose, then everybody better smell the stench of their hypocrisy for world control. This is Mary Omni from the House of King David. Shalom.